Highlands governors meet in Wabag. 2-week delay to work by new city authority board in Leh. And the Galip nut, PNG's next export earner.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thank you for joining me for Wednesday's news. We'll bring you our top stories a little later in the bulletin, but we begin with districts in Madang should set up their own rural lockups to help the Beyond Correctional Institute to cut down on the overcrowding problem it is facing. Beyond CS Commander Chief Inspector Andrew Police says these rural lockups will enable prisoners, especially those sentenced for less than a year, to serve their time at their respective districts. Rural lockups is also a good concept in the districts whereby prisoners are kept there to help in local civil work.
The Beyond Correctional Facility in Madang is one of many prisons around the country also experiencing overcrowding. The facility can hold up to 300 prisoners for both the men and women. But as of the 28th of September, the number reached 229. The condemning of the Jomba police station cell blocks in town is one of the contributing factors to the overcrowding at Beyond.
The number of prisoners that are going out, meaning they finish serving their terms through their DDR, is lower than the number of prisoners coming in Monday to Friday from the police cells or from the police station or courthouse.
From police reports, in the last 12 months, offenders continue to commit criminal activities. At least 10 offenders are taken to Beyond daily. Another problem, Beyond only has 5 vehicles. 2 are currently at the workshop.
There's no money to maintain those vehicles. The prison van, which is a very important vehicle that I need here to transport prisoners from the jail to the courthouse and the hospital. Beyond is, say, around 5-6 kilometers out of Madang town. To transport prisoners to court or hospital on an open back vehicle is not safe. So my prison van is in the workshop now, waiting for funds for maintenance.
For now, officers are only using 3 vehicles. 2 of the 3 vehicles are not roadworthy. But due to the limited number of cars, officers had no choice but to use them in their daily operations. Mathalubi's National EMTV News, Madang.
Police in Manus have charged 3 inmates who had escaped from Lorengau prison on the 3rd and 4th of October. The 3 men are 38-year-old Bill Kanat, facing a murder charge and serving 17 years. Mark Kerring, 37, was also convicted for murder, and Junior Mark charged for being in possession of drugs. Their recapture has been described by Manus Police Commander Chief Inspector David Yapu as a good effort by the local community. The 3 men appeared before the Lorengau District Court today and are back in correctional service custody. 2 police officers from the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary in Port Moresby have been charged with abuse of office. Both male officers whose positions are Reserve Officer in Charge and Reserve Sergeant are under interrogation by the Police Internal Affairs Directorate at Koki. Chief Superintendent Robert Ali says both officers have been with the department for a long time. Ali says the officers have been working with expatriates of Chinese origin to issue police uniforms, ID cards, ranks and titles to reserve officers.
From our investigation, they must have made we don't know where they got the uniforms from, but this is subject to investigations, and probably through the interrogation process we will be able to have some clear visibility on the arrangement of the uniforms, where they got the uniforms from, and how they, what facilities was used to produce the ID cards. That's something that we don't know. It could be produced up at their office, or it could be produced elsewhere. And so that's the information that we're going to get. Once when we get that information and when we establish that it has been produced elsewhere, we'll probably go in to try to get the items or the facilities that were used.
The Highlands Regional Conference in Enga Province has brought together governors from the 7 Highlands provinces. The theme for this year's conference is provincial participation for inclusive growth under current reforms. The aim is for the governors to work together to develop the Highlands provinces.
The governors discussed that the region has over 3 million population and has a lot of economic activities going on, such as LNG, minings and agricultural activities. The common regional issues discussed are the upgrading and the security of the Highlands Highway. The governor said the Highlands Highway is an important link that needs to be addressed by the national government.
And each governors, we know our own problem. It's a matter of us coming together, share our experiences, development agendas, we talk about it and then find a solution, a way forward for change to come especially in the Highlands region.
Intergovernment and Relations Minister Kevin Isufu, whose ministry hosted the event, said the resolutions from the conference will be taken to the national government.
We have deliberated on it and we'll be getting the recommendations in from all the governors. And as soon as we put together all the recommendations, then we will now find a way forward in taking this approach to the government.
Another main discussion is the law and order issues, particularly in owning of unlicensed and licensed firearm. It has posed a threat to the people of Highlands region. Leaders were urged to be responsible and educate their people about law and order instead of encouraging them to cause trouble.
Be a bit more proactive in the delivery of services to our people. We've been lacking that leadership for a while at the national level. And so I think the governors do realize that we play a very important role.
The governors also discussed about inclusive economic growth through agriculture to alleviate poverty. Enga is currently taking the lead in agriculture with the Surinki Agro Farm. Governors can contribute ideas and learn from each other.
So we've traveled throughout Enga. We have seen Enga. And Enga's people, the people of Enga's attitude is completely different. That I think comes back to education over the last 20 years.
All resolutions will be given to Minister Kevin Isufu to be tabled in the next Parliament sitting. Vasenata Yama, National EMTV News, Wabag.
Kumul Consolidated Holdings Limited has announced the appointment of managing directors for Air Niugini and Kumul Telecom Holdings. Minister for Public Enterprise and State Investment William Duma says the appointments will give a fresh start to both state-owned companies and improve service delivery. New Air Niugini managing director is Alan Milne, a 36-year-old veteran of Qantas Airways Limited, while Paul Hyde will head Kumul Consolidated Holdings.
I remain confident as Minister responsible for all of our SOEs that these two gentlemen will help change the way we've been able to manage those two important companies and deliver us the results that our people of Papua New Guinea have been looking forward to. I believe that will be the case. It won't happen overnight, but given time over the next couple of months, say 6 to 12 months, we will see some positive developments.
Lae's Lord Mayor has asked the new City Authority Board to give him 2 weeks to consult with LLG councillors before signing off on an agreement which will give the authority control over revenue and accounts. The request has effectively delayed the immediate implementation of the board's plans to improve services and account for money generated in the city. While the board has agreed, Chairman and Lae MP John Rosso says any further delays will force him to seek Parliament's approval to change laws to strengthen the authority's functions.
On the surface, the new Lae City Authority Board has maintained its posture in the face of internal resistance by the Lord Mayor. The issue of contention stems from disagreements over how the financial powers will be shared between the new authority and the existing Lae City Council.
Lae City does not have a district development authority. That is why we created the Lae City Authority.
It is time to put aside those petty Moravian politics.
On the one side, Chairman and Lae MP John Rosso, who has the backing of the Prime Minister and the National Executive Council, is clear on what should be done.
The City Authority will take over all revenue collection if they sign the MOU.
On the other side, Deputy Chairman and the city's Lord Mayor, Koim Trilu Lay, says he has to consult with 6 local level government councillors before signing off on an MOU.
You know, this is the first of its kind. You have to agree, sometimes you have to disagree. You know that you give everything from your house to somebody else, you're going to feel a pain.
Signing off on the MOU means the city council gives up its financial powers to the authority.
If they do not sign the MOU, then the risk is that, one, it'll be harder for us to manage the city, and I will then have to be forced to table to the board that I will have to take it to National Parliament to do legislative changes to allow us to run and manage the city.
Nobody's really talking about it, but as much as possible, the Lay MP and most of the board members want to avoid a long, drawn-out, possibly legal confrontation between the board and the Lord Mayor.
2 parties have to understand the functions of the LCA and the Lay local level government.
What we're only trying to do is follow the rules of the law here and help the councils. That's what we're trying to do. But for some reason, our good Lord Mayor needs to explain to his councillors. And once he's finished, we've given 2 weeks for him to come back. The risk is if they don't say yes, then the board has to make a decision and task me to go to legislative assistance in Port Moresby through the Parliament.
While the board wants to avoid a confrontation, the evidence of abuse is stacked up against the Lay City Council in its present form. The council has been under investigation since last year. The initial investigation report showed widespread abuse of finances, and in some instances, payroll officers paid themselves unjustified salary advances ranging between 3,000 and 8,000 kina. Scott Waide, National MTV News, Lay.
Contractors with Lay City Council are furious over the delayed signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between the Lay City Council and the newly established Lay City Authority. They say the Lord Mayor, Koim Trilu Lay, should go ahead with the signing to allow for improvements to be made in the city.
People like talk something along side me all board member belong LCA kind of some Lord Mayor sign him this MOU emi lusim na igo na one reasons belong him na emi represent him side in Salo why represent him side na emi sign him this LCA MOU
this la emi interim process will work when nubla body like carry out na me believe this la kind person will work emi sawe delay more service go people lo Papua New Guinea.
Lengthy Rabal Queen trial has reached its conclusion last week following a notice of declaration by the Public Prosecutor's Office in Kokopo. The notice declared that no further charges must be laid against Captain Peter Sharp, the ship's captain Anthony Tsao, and shipping company's Kimbe branch manager Grace Amen. The trio have had charges of taking an unseaworthy ship to sea leveled against them. The notice of declaration was filed by Public Prosecutor Pondros Kalowin on the 13th of August and presented before Justice Panuel Mogish. Captain Peter Sharp and Anthony Tsao have also been acquitted of 172 counts of manslaughter charges in July last year. The recent notice of declaration has now set all 3 key accused in the Rabal Queen trial free of all the charges. It is understood a civil court action is expected to be taken up by the survivors and the relatives of the deceased. On the 2nd of February 2012, MV Rabal Queen sunk off the coast of Morbe, killing more than 200 people. The Rabal Queen trial was considered one of the longest and expensive trials in the country. You're with Thursday's news. Stay tuned for more stories coming up after the break.